In the quiet moments between his equations, Albert Einstein would often gaze out of his window, watching the dance of reality unfold before him. The brilliant physicist who revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos was, at his core, a seeker of truth, not unlike those who walk the path of mindfulness. Einstein once remarked, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious." It is the fundamental emotion which stands at the cradle of true art and true science. This sense of wonder, this reverence for the unknown, is the same curiosity that awakens the spiritual heart. When you look deeply at Einstein's life, you discover a man whose scientific pursuits were inseparable from his philosophical inquiries. He rejected the notion that the universe was merely a machine of random occurrences. Instead, he sensed an underlying harmony, a cosmic order that transcended the visible world. "I want to know God's thoughts," he famously said. "The rest are details." What is particularly striking about Einstein's journey is how closely it parallels the path of inner discovery. Just as he peered beyond the apparent solidity of matter to find energy, space, and time intertwined in ways that defied conventional understanding, so too did he look beyond the apparent separateness of human existence to find connection, compassion, and unity. In 1905, his miracle year, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking papers that would forever change physics. The theory of special relativity revealed that time and space are not absolute, but relative to the observer. The photoelectric effect demonstrated that light behaves both as a wave and as particles. His work on Brownian motion provided empirical evidence for the existence of atoms. And his famous equation, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, showed that matter and energy are equivalent. These scientific revelations mirror profound spiritual insights. When we meditate and observe our experience directly, do we not also discover that time is subjective, that our solid sense of self is actually a process in constant flux, that separation is an illusion, and that everything is interconnected? Einstein's life was not without suffering. Born to a Jewish family in Germany, he witnessed the rise of anti-Semitism and was forced to flee his homeland when the Nazis came to power. He experienced the horrors of 2 world wars and lived with the knowledge that his work had contributed to the development of atomic weapons. Peace cannot be kept by force, he reflected. It can only be achieved by understanding. This understanding that true peace comes not from domination, but from wisdom, echoes the teaching that hatred cannot be overcome by hatred, but only by love. Einstein's response to suffering was not to retreat into bitterness, but to deepen his commitment to human welfare and to speak out against injustice. What's remarkable is how Einstein's scientific mind naturally led him towards spiritual conclusions. A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, he wrote, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. Is this not the very insight that liberates us from suffering? The recognition that our sense of separateness is an illusion, that we are not isolated entities but expressions of a vast, interconnected reality. Einstein was drawn to the teachings of Spinoza, who saw God not as a personal deity, but as the inherent order of nature itself. This resonated with Einstein's own intuition that behind the apparent chaos of existence lies a profound harmony. "I believe in Spinoza's God," he declared, "who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists." As you reflect on your own life, consider how your understanding of reality shapes your experience. Are you seeing yourself as separate from the world around you, or can you glimpse the interconnection that Einstein perceived? When you look at the night sky, do you feel your place in the cosmos as Einstein did, not as an insignificant speck, but as a conscious participant in the universe becoming aware of itself? Einstein's humility before the mystery of existence is perhaps his most enduring spiritual quality. Despite his towering intellect, he maintained a childlike wonder throughout his life. "The important thing is not to stop questioning," he advised. "Curiosity has its own reason for existing." This attitude of open inquiry, of not clinging to fixed views, is essential for both scientific progress and spiritual growth. When we approach life with beginner's mind, we create space for new discoveries, for deeper understanding, for transformation. Einstein's journey toward understanding the universe led him to a profound realization that resonates deeply with spiritual wisdom. As he delved deeper into quantum physics, he encountered a reality that defied conventional logic, a world where particles could be in multiple places simultaneously, where observation itself shaped reality, and where uncertainty was not just a limitation of measurement, but a fundamental property of nature. This revelation troubled him. God does not play dice with the universe, he famously objected, resisting the implications of quantum mechanics. Yet his resistance itself reveals something beautiful about the human quest for truth. Even the greatest minds struggle when confronted with realities that challenge their deepest assumptions. Is this not the very essence of spiritual awakening? When we sit in meditation, we too encounter an inner reality that defies our usual understanding of ourselves. We discover that our thoughts arise and pass without our control, that our sense of a solid self dissolves under careful observation, that the boundary between me and not me is far more permeable than we had believed. Einstein's struggle with quantum physics mirrors our own resistance to seeing the true nature of reality. We cling to our familiar ways of understanding ourselves and the world, even when evidence suggests these views cause us suffering. Like Einstein, we sometimes prefer a universe that behaves according to our expectations rather than embracing the mystery of what actually is. Yet Einstein's greatest breakthroughs came precisely when he was willing to question the most basic assumptions of physics. His thought experiments, imagining himself riding on a beam of light or falling freely in an elevator, allowed him to see beyond conventional thinking. Similarly, when we cultivate mindfulness, we create the conditions for insight by stepping outside our habitual patterns of thought. In 1915, Einstein completed his general theory of relativity, revealing that gravity itself is not a force, but a curvature of space-time caused by mass and energy. This elegant theory transformed our understanding of the cosmos. What appeared to be a mysterious action at a distance was revealed as the natural movement of objects through curved space-time. This insight parallels the spiritual discovery that what we experience as separate forces acting upon us, desires, aversions, emotions, are actually the natural expressions of consciousness flowing through the conditions of our lives. Just as objects in space follow the path of least resistance through curved space-time, our thoughts and feelings arise in accordance with conditions, without a separate self directing them. Einstein's theories predicted phenomena that seemed impossible: light bending around the sun, time slowing down near massive objects, the expansion of the universe itself. When these predictions were confirmed by observation, they revealed how profoundly our intuitive understanding of reality can differ from its true nature. The same is true of spiritual insight. When we first hear that our sense of self is an illusion, that impermanence touches everything. That true happiness comes not from getting what we want, but from transforming our relationship to wanting itself. These truths may seem counterintuitive, even impossible. Yet, when tested in the laboratory of our own experience, they prove themselves true in ways that transform our lives. Throughout his life, Einstein maintained a deep humility about human knowledge. As our circle of knowledge expands, he noted, so does the circumference of darkness surrounding it. The more he discovered about the universe, the more aware he became of how much remained unknown. This humility is the hallmark of both the true scientist and the spiritual seeker. Consider your own relationship to knowledge and certainty. Do you hold your views lightly, remaining open to new understanding? Or do you grasp tightly to what you believe, defending your positions against evidence that might challenge them? Einstein's willingness to revise his understanding when confronted with new evidence offers a powerful example of intellectual flexibility. Despite his revolutionary theories, Einstein spent the latter part of his life searching for a unified field theory, an elegant mathematical framework that would unite all the forces of nature. He never found it. Yet his quest itself reflects a profound intuition that beneath the apparent diversity of phenomena lies a fundamental unity. This search for unity characterized Einstein's approach not just to physics, but to human affairs as well. In an age of nationalism and division, he advocated for world government and international cooperation. Nationalism is an infantile disease, he declared. It is the measles of mankind. He recognized that our tendency to divide humanity into us and them creates unnecessary suffering and prevents us from addressing our shared challenges. When you look at the conflicts in your own life, can you recognize how they often arise from this same tendency to create separation where there could be connection? The boundary between self and other exists in our minds, yet we treat it as an absolute reality, defending our territory against perceived intrusion, failing to see how our well-being is inseparable from the well-being of others. Einstein's famous thought experiments invite us to shift our perspective, to see the world from a different vantage point. What if we applied this same approach to our human relationships? What if we could momentarily step into another person's experience, seeing the world through their eyes? This capacity for perspective taking, for empathy, is essential for both scientific insight and compassionate action. As Einstein aged, his hair growing wild and his eyes ever more penetrating, he became not just a scientific icon, but a symbol of wisdom itself. People sought his views not only on physics, but on peace, education, and the human condition. Though he never claimed to be a spiritual teacher, his life embodied the integration of intellectual brilliance with moral courage and compassionate concern for humanity. What draws us to Einstein, beyond his scientific genius, is the profound humanity that shines through his work and words. He was not a detached intellect floating above human concerns, but a man who felt deeply the joys and sorrows of existence. A happy man is too satisfied with the present to dwell too much on the future, he observed, pointing to a wisdom that transcends both scientific and spiritual traditions, the importance of presence. Einstein's life teaches us that the deepest understanding comes not from abstract theorizing alone, but from a kind of intuitive insight that engages our whole being. His greatest breakthroughs often came not while working at his desk, but during moments of relaxation, while sailing, playing violin, or simply daydreaming. In these states of open awareness, solutions would appear with sudden clarity. Does this not mirror the experience of meditation, practitioners who discover that insights arise not through forced concentration, but in moments of receptive awareness? Einstein himself noted, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." Consider how you approach challenges in your own life. Do you try to think your way through every problem? Or do you sometimes allow solutions to emerge from a quieter, more intuitive place? Einstein's creative process reminds us that beneath our conscious reasoning lies a deeper intelligence that can be accessed when we learn to quiet the analytical mind. What's particularly striking about Einstein's approach to science is how he trusted his sense of beauty and harmony as guides to truth. "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious," he wrote. "It is the source of all true art and science." For Einstein, an equation was beautiful when it expressed a profound truth with elegant simplicity. This aesthetic sensibility led him toward theories that later proved correct, even when they initially seemed implausible. Similarly, in spiritual practice, we develop an inner sense for what rings true, not based on dogma or authority, but on a felt recognition of what aligns with our deepest experience. When we hear teachings that point to the nature of consciousness, impermanence, or interconnection, something within us resonates, recognizing a truth we somehow already know. Einstein lived through an era of unprecedented scientific advancement and devastating world wars. He witnessed humanity's capacity for both brilliant creativity and horrific destruction. The development of atomic weapons, based partly on his theoretical work, filled him with deep concern. "The splitting of the atom has changed everything save our mode of thinking," he warned, "and thus we drift toward unparalleled catastrophe." This recognition that our technological development had outpaced our wisdom led Einstein to become an advocate for peace and global cooperation. He understood that the same mind that can unravel the mysteries of the atom must also cultivate compassion and ethical responsibility. Knowledge without wisdom, he realized, could lead humanity to destruction rather than liberation. As you navigate your own relationship with technology in this digital age, Einstein's example invites reflection. Are your devices tools that serve your deeper values and connections? Or have they become distractions that fragment your attention and separate you from direct experience? The power of technology, like the power of the mind itself, can either illuminate or obscure depending on how we use it. Einstein's famous equation, E = mc2, revealed the equivalence of matter and energy, that what appears as solid matter is actually condensed energy. This scientific insight parallels the spiritual discovery that what appears as a solid self is actually a dynamic process, a flow of sensations, thoughts, and awareness that we mistakenly perceive as a fixed entity. When we examine our experience closely through meditation, we find no permanent self at the center, just as physicists find no solid, indivisible particles at the heart of matter. Instead, we discover patterns of energy, constantly changing, arising, and passing in dependence on conditions. The apparent solidity of both matter and self dissolves under careful investigation. Einstein's vision of reality was profoundly unified. He saw no fundamental separation between matter and energy, space and time, or even between the observer and the observed. A human being, he wrote, is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This insight into the illusion of separateness is remarkably aligned with the spiritual recognition that our sense of being isolated individuals is a misperception. When we look deeply, we find that we cannot exist apart from the air we breathe, the food we eat, the communities that sustain us, or the natural world that supports all life. Our boundaries are conventional, not absolute. Einstein's life embodied a beautiful paradox. He was simultaneously one of the most brilliant individual minds in history and someone who recognized the limitations of viewing ourselves as separate entities. Perhaps this is why he valued simplicity and humility despite his extraordinary intellect. The true sign of intelligence, he suggested, is not knowledge, but imagination. This imagination, the capacity to envision what lies beyond our current understanding, is essential for both scientific discovery and spiritual growth. Einstein imagined himself riding on a light beam. We might imagine ourselves free from the habitual patterns that cause suffering. This creative visualization opens doorways to possibilities we might otherwise never explore. Throughout his life, Einstein maintained a childlike curiosity about the universe. Even in his later years, when honors and recognition flowed to him from around the world, he remained focused on the questions that truly mattered to him, rather than on his public status. "I have no special talent," he claimed with characteristic modesty. "I am only passionately curious." This quality of passionate curiosity is the foundation of both scientific inquiry and spiritual practice. When we approach life with genuine interest, rather than assuming we already know, we create space for discovery. The beginner's mind sees possibilities that the expert's mind might miss. Einstein never lost this freshness of perception, this willingness to question even his own established theories. Einstein's relationship with religion evolved throughout his life, reflecting a journey many of us experience as we question inherited beliefs and forge our own understanding. Raised in a secular Jewish household, he went through a religious phase in childhood before rejecting conventional religion as a teenager. Yet, as his scientific understanding deepened, so did his appreciation for what he called cosmic religious feeling. The most beautiful emotion we can experience is the mysterious, he wrote. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of all true art and science. He who can no longer wonder, who can no longer feel amazement, is as good as dead, a snuffed-out candle. This sense of wonder before the mystery of existence is where science and spirituality find common ground. Both begin not with answers, but with questions, with a recognition of how much we don't know. Einstein's humility before the vastness of the cosmos mirrors the spiritual attitude that acknowledges the limitations of our ordinary understanding. When asked about his religious beliefs, Einstein often spoke of Spinoza's God, not a personal deity who intervenes in human affairs, but the order and harmony inherent in the universe itself. I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the lawful harmony of the world, not in a God who concerns himself with the fate and the doings of mankind. This view resonates with contemplative traditions that recognize a fundamental intelligence or awareness underlying all phenomena. Not a creator separate from creation, but the creative principle within existence itself. What some traditions call Buddha nature, or the ground of being, or primordial awareness. Einstein rejected both naive religious literalism and dismissive atheism, finding instead a middle way that honored the mystery at the heart of existence while remaining committed to rational inquiry. Science without religion is lame, he famously stated. Religion without science is blind. By religion, he meant not dogma or ritual, but the sense of awe and ethical responsibility that arises from recognizing our place in the cosmos. This integration of scientific rationality with reverence for mystery offers a model for our own relationship with spirituality. We need not abandon critical thinking to appreciate the depth dimension of existence, nor must we reject spiritual insight to embrace scientific understanding. Like Einstein, we can hold both simultaneously, allowing each to inform and enrich the other. Einstein's theories transformed our understanding of space and time, revealing them not as separate, absolute dimensions, but as aspects of a unified space-time continuum that curves in the presence of mass and energy. This scientific insight parallels the spiritual recognition that the apparent duality of our experience, self and other, inner and outer, subject and object, resolves into a more fundamental unity when seen from a deeper perspective. In meditation, we may discover that the observer and the observed are not two separate things, but aspects of a single process of knowing. Just as Einstein showed that space and time are perspectives on a unified reality, contemplative traditions point to awareness and its contents as inseparable aspects of experience rather than fundamentally different categories. What's remarkable about Einstein's scientific vision is how it aligns with insights that spiritual practitioners have realized through direct investigation of consciousness. Both approaches reveal a reality far more subtle, dynamic, and interconnected than our ordinary perception suggests. Both invite us to question our habitual ways of seeing and to open to a more expansive understanding. Einstein's life was not without struggle. His first marriage failed, and his relationship with his children was often strained. He experienced periods of illness and as a Jewish scientist, faced anti-Semitism that eventually forced him to flee Germany when Hitler came to power. Yet through these difficulties, he maintained both his scientific curiosity and his fundamental optimism about human potential. The world is not dangerous because of those who do harm, he observed, but because of those who look at it without doing anything. This commitment to ethical action alongside intellectual pursuit reflects the understanding that wisdom must be embodied in how we live, not just in what we know. Knowledge that doesn't transform our way of being in the world remains incomplete. As you navigate your own challenges, Einstein's example invites you to consider how difficulties might deepen, rather than diminish, your engagement with life's fundamental questions. Can the very experiences that seem to pull you away from your path become, when approached with awareness, doorways to deeper understanding? Einstein's approach to education also reflected his integrative vision. He valued not just the accumulation of facts, but the development of independent thinking and moral sensitivity. The value of an education, he said, is not the learning of many facts, but the training of the mind to think something that cannot be learned from textbooks. This emphasis on cultivating the capacity for original thought, rather than merely absorbing existing knowledge, applies equally to spiritual development. The deepest insights cannot simply be transferred from teacher to student, but must be realized through one's own direct experience. A true teacher, like a true scientist, doesn't offer final answers, but helps students develop the tools to discover truth for themselves. Einstein's creative process often involved what he called thought experiments, mental scenarios that allowed him to explore the implications of his theories. He imagined riding alongside a light beam, falling freely in an elevator, or traveling on a train passing another. These imaginative exercises revealed insights that mathematical analysis alone might have missed. Similarly, in meditation practice, we might use guided visualizations or contemplations to explore aspects of experience that are difficult to access directly. We might imagine our own death to confront our mortality, visualize the suffering of others to cultivate compassion, or contemplate the interdependence of all phenomena to realize the nature of emptiness. These mental exercises, like Einstein's thought experiments, can lead to transformative insights. What's particularly striking about Einstein's legacy is how he came to symbolize not just scientific genius, but a certain quality of wisdom that transcends academic knowledge. His wild hair, compassionate eyes, and playful smile suggest someone who had glimpsed something profound about the nature of reality, not just intellectually, but in a way that transformed his being. This is the promise of both scientific inquiry and spiritual practice at their best, not merely to accumulate information or experiences, but to transform our relationship with reality itself. Einstein's life reminds us that the deepest understanding comes not from grasping at knowledge, but from allowing ourselves to be changed by what we discover. In his later years, Einstein continued his search for a unified field theory, a single mathematical framework that would encompass all the forces of nature. Though this quest remained unfulfilled during his lifetime, his vision of underlying unity has inspired generations of physicists who continue to seek what has been called a theory of everything. This search for fundamental unity reflects a deep intuition that beneath the apparent diversity and complexity of phenomena lies a simpler, more elegant truth. It's an intuition shared by contemplative traditions, which point to a ground of being or primordial awareness that underlies the seemingly separate aspects of our experience. Einstein once wrote, "A human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness." This insight into the illusory nature of separation could have come as easily from a meditation master as from a physicist. When we look closely at our experience through mindfulness practice, we discover that the boundaries we perceive between self and other, between observer and observed, between this moment and the next, are not as solid or absolute as they appear. Like Einstein's revelation that solid matter is actually condensed energy, we find that our seemingly solid self is actually a dynamic process, constantly changing, inseparable from the wider field of experience. Einstein's creative brilliance flowed from his willingness to question assumptions that others took for granted. He asked what light would look like if you could travel alongside it, what gravity would feel like if you were in free fall, what would happen if space itself could bend. These questions led to revolutionary insights precisely because they challenged conventional frameworks. Similarly, the contemplative journey begins when we question our most basic assumptions about ourselves and reality. What if there is no separate self at the center of experience? What if awareness itself, rather than the content of awareness, is our true nature? What if the present moment, rather than past or future, is the only point of contact with reality? These inquiries can be as revolutionary for our understanding of consciousness as Einstein's questions were for physics. What's particularly moving about Einstein's life is how his scientific insights informed his humanitarian values. His understanding of the fundamental interconnectedness of reality led naturally to his advocacy for peace, international cooperation, and human rights. A person starts to live, he observed, when he can live outside himself. This recognition that our well-being is inseparable from the well-being of others reflects the wisdom that flows from truly seeing our interdependence. Einstein died in Princeton, New Jersey on April 18, 1955. According to the nurse who was with him, his final words were spoken in German and went unrecorded because she couldn't understand them. There's something fitting about this, that the last thoughts of one of history's greatest minds would remain a mystery, reminding us of how much lies beyond our knowing. After his death, researchers discovered that Einstein had donated his brain to science. Studies revealed unusual features, including a higher ratio of glial cells to neurons and unique patterns in the brain's parietal regions associated with mathematical thinking and spatial awareness. Yet these physical differences alone cannot explain the extraordinary quality of mind that enabled him to revolutionize our understanding of reality. The mystery of consciousness, how awareness arises and how it can penetrate so deeply into the nature of existence, remains as profound today as it was in Einstein's time. Both neuroscience and contemplative traditions continue to explore this frontier, approaching from different directions, yet perhaps converging on insights that neither could reach alone. Einstein's legacy invites us to integrate the precision of scientific inquiry with the depth of contemplative insight, to cultivate both intellectual rigor and compassionate wisdom. His life demonstrates that these are not opposing paths, but complementary approaches to understanding ourselves and our place in the cosmos. When Einstein was asked what question he would ask God if he had the opportunity, he replied, "I would ask if the universe had a choice in how it was created." This profound query points to the mystery at the heart of existence. Why there is something rather than nothing, and whether the fundamental laws of nature could have been different than they are. Contemplative traditions approach this same mystery through direct investigation of consciousness itself, asking whether awareness has an inherent nature and how it relates to the phenomena that appear within it. Both approaches lead us to the edge of what can be known through conventional means, inviting us into a deeper relationship with mystery itself. Einstein once said, "There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle." This statement captures the essence of a life lived with both scientific curiosity and spiritual awareness, recognizing the lawful order of the universe while maintaining a sense of wonder at the sheer fact of existence. As you move through your day, can you bring this same quality of attention to ordinary experience? Can you see the miracle in a raindrop, a breath, a moment of connection with another being? Can you recognize the extraordinary fact of consciousness itself? That somehow the universe has evolved in such a way that it can be aware of itself through you? Einstein's journey reminds us that our deepest questions about reality are not merely academic, but deeply personal. His famous equation, EXMC2, is not just a formula written on a blackboard, but a revelation about the nature of the world we inhabit. Similarly, spiritual insights are not abstract philosophies, but direct recognitions that transform how we experience ourselves and reality. In both scientific inquiry and spiritual practice, we are called to verify truth through our own investigation rather than accepting authority blindly. Unthinking respect for authority, Einstein warned, is the greatest enemy of truth. This commitment to first-hand knowledge, to testing theories against evidence and insights against experience, is where the scientific and contemplative paths find common ground. Einstein's life embodied a beautiful integration of brilliant intellect, compassionate heart, and playful spirit. Despite the depth of his thinking, he maintained a lightness of being, a sense of humor, and a childlike wonder that made him not just a great scientist, but a fully dimensional human being. His example reminds us that wisdom includes not only understanding, but also joy, not only seriousness of purpose, but also delight in the mystery of existence. As you continue on your own journey of discovery, remember Einstein's words: "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing." May your questions lead you ever deeper into the nature of reality and your own true nature, which are, perhaps, not two different things at all. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this journey through Einstein's remarkable life and the profound insights it offers for our own spiritual path. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. How has Einstein's wisdom touched your life? What parallels have you found between scientific understanding and spiritual insight in your own journey? Please Share your reflections in the comments below. If you found value in this exploration of where science meets spirituality, please consider subscribing to our channel. We're dedicated to bringing you content that bridges these seemingly separate worlds and illuminates the path of insight. Your support helps us create more videos that explore the deepest questions of existence and consciousness. Until next time, may your curiosity remain boundless and your awareness ever expanding. Namaste.